We're going to start walking through the GUI tile types. Now, GUI has a lot of elements to it, so we'll just kind of take one at a time, go through each one of them. The default tile set, there is a folder down here that is going to be, let's scroll down to it, or up to it. There's one going to be GUI. Inside, you have some of the common GUI elements that we currently support in Build a Game. So we'll go to the 9 slice. 9 slice will be this image. Alright, so we're going to select the folder. Now we're just going to set up one at a time. That way we kind of walk our way through and you can see some of the core pieces that you can use to set it up correctly. I'm going to start with saying it's the GUI type for the 9 slice. It's going to be a GUI. Description, let's go ahead and just say, we'll do, yeah, I'll just say it this way, 9 slice. And GUI 9 slice. It'll be visible in game. Receive light doesn't really matter at this point for it, so we'll say no on that one. Alright, the offset will set to 0. You could set, depending on which one, like for instance, this could be like a panel background, so you might want it behind buttons and things. So depending on where you want it, what its purpose is, you may find that you kind of use it a little differently each time. Alright, collider, we'll go ahead and take colliders off. There's no reason to have those. The offset and the repeat, we'll say repeat will be on, so we can stretch it. Alright, so the rest of the properties and things, you can set this one if there was an animation applied to it, but we're actually going to be applying some specific animations inside of the GUI. So starting from here, we've got a handful all the way down. There's like a lot of GUI options, but it's basically when you choose one option. For instance, you choose swipe, then you have 3 rollouts for swipe. You choose long press, you have long press. And these are the reaction to a hover state, a click state, a down state. So when you see those, just kind of start grouping them into groups, saying, here's the normal, it's got setting, scale, color, setting, scale, color. So that part, hopefully you kind of see that as just being a normal part of these settings, so don't get too overwhelmed by it. So if we go back up to here, and we go to our GUI type, the GUI type, you have these right here. We have a 9 slice on this one, but in terms of its function, we're going to say it's a panel. Alright, so a panel just meaning it's a background image that we could use, but a panel has a couple of additional features in that you can actually put buttons and images on top of it, and it'll stick to it. Alright, the enable cursor at start, by default everything is actually enabled at start for the cursor. Eventually there'll be a on-off system, so that'll become more important later. The GUI animations for this guy, if you click on the 9 slice, you'll notice what you have is 9 slice. There's just simply one option for how it actually is being used. Now we'll be setting up some others that have all the states of the buttons. So when you see the state of the button, if we just kind of scroll down here, you've got the normal, down, hover, hold, tap, drag, swipe, long press, the active, deactive, and disabled. So those are going to be the standard button types that are available for it. You can use all of them, you can use one of them. In our case, we're just going to have the normal state with a 9 slice, and then you can still use the rest in terms of the function, but the image will just simply be the same image for the whole thing. Alright, then the same thing for the audio. You have all the states, so every time, for each state, you have the audio file play for it. Now there is a GUI input. Input means what can you do with it? Can you click on it and like tap? Can you hover, hold down? Can you drag it? Can you swipe? For us, what we want to do, we're going to do, let's see, we'll say you can, just so you can see it here, you could say that you can drag. If you wanted it to be a panel that is just on the corner, can't do anything, then you turn all of them off. If we want to say this panel can be drug around, and if you had an image, you could say you could click on it down and up. All right. GUI camera options. This is how does it get seen. So GUI can be seen in the game camera and the GUI camera. You can show it in both. You can show it in one. You can have GUI as a part of the player, a part of the scene that gets used there, or you can have it a special thing that's just the GUI camera so that nothing else can touch it or can be using it. All right, the input though is a single type, meaning do you click on it or not? We're going to say in terms of where the click is registered, we're going to say it's registered on the GUI. So that means you have to have a GUI camera in order to click on it. If you know it's going to be in game, then you can just click on the game option for it. There is a both, and if I remember right, it like sort of works. So if you're doing this on in the beta, just take note that it might not work. We'll have to double check on it. All right, anchor points. We have auto. Auto means on the screen. So if I move the screen over to the right, if I'm scaling it left and right, it's going to say where is it being anchored. You can say none, auto, and selected. Selected means you're actually choosing where you want it to be, irregardless of where its position currently is. Alright, so we'll say auto on that. The GUI Scale. GUI Scale is saying with camera, none, and padding. This whole setup, again, it makes a lot more sense if you watch the Build a Game editor videos with this, so that you can actually see the min-max screen widths and heights and how it actually adds the padding to it as you pull and drag it and all that good stuff. Alright, the GUI 9 Slice, this is what this one is, so let's go ahead and take a look at it. We're going to enable this. The border is basically how many pixels over, percentage over. If you do 100, you're actually saying from here to the other side. We're saying 10%, which comes out just about to there. So you'll have a border that's built up around it. And that means that this line thickness here stays the same no matter how big the image gets or small it gets. All right, all of this all the other things, the widgets and the GUI elements and stuff, none of that actually matters in terms of what we need to do with it. You could do the drag settings right here. Drag settings, if you wanted to, you can actually constrain it. You could say you can only drag it vertical or left, left, right, up, and down. You can drag in front. You can grid snap it so that when you drag, it snaps as you go. Also, if you wanted it to fade when you're actually dragging it, or if you don't want to have it, take it all the way up to 100%. Finger count is how many finger touches, how many mouse button touches does it take to actually move it. And then the enable scrolling, this is just if you're scrolling with the mouse, can you scroll it left and right or not. I don't know if this one's set up just yet, but it's here, but if it doesn't actually look like it's working, then it's just not set up yet. Alright, so we've got those, and we're going to go ahead and leave the dragging vertical and horizontal there. Alright, drag scale. If you want it when you're dragging, do you want the tilt, meaning that when I drag, the panel kind of like angles to the side? When it starts to angle, if you want that, then you can have also a lag position, so that the lag position and rotation, they kind of have that almost like a little piece of paper that you're just pushing back and forth. You can have it set that way. It'll have a nice feel to it, but if you're trying to make it more like a sturdy image that you just want to drag like a Windows document or something, then you probably want to take the tilt off and the lag off so that it's just a straight one. And then the last one is going to be the drag color. If you want to change, actually these should be, have to double check on that, the drag scale and color. Yeah, we're off one on it. For those though, and we'll try to fix that one here in a little bit, but this is going to be enabling the scale. When you're dragging it, do you want to change the scale value? This is percentage based, so whatever the current value is, do you want it to be scaled up from there a certain amount, and then transition time getting it to it. So if you just want more interaction, you click and you drag and it increases by 10 or it shrinks by a little bit, you could do that. And then the same thing, of course, for the for the color side as well. You can change it so that when you're dragging, the color changes for it. Alright, so that's going to be the basics for the 9 slice, and then also some of the drag properties and features that you can implement with it. And notice we didn't turn on the trigger settings or anything. This is all to make these things happen. This is all based on the interaction with the clicking, so you're actually clicking on it. However, you can have a character walk over to it and interact with it and go through all those same steps.